Welcome, Wilderland Explorers! I'm game designer and sci-fi novelist Derek William Dalton. Today we are going to play Adara's Atlas, the expansion set for Lone Wilderlands, the solo sandbox RPG in a card box. There it is, Adara's Atlas. There's a curse if you don't return it. In addition to what's in the box, you will also need the instructions. I printed and ring-bound mine. Very handy. Something to write with. Bonus points if it's shiny. You'll need a character sheet and a sheet with hexagons for making maps. And some dice. You don't need that many. It just looked like fun to roll them all, so I did, and it was. You have a letter that's part of starting the story, and there is this map. Playing Lone Wilderlands, the original game, rather than this, you'd have a blank hex sheet. This is something acquired in the story, partially explored, and I'll explain more about the differences of what you do where it's not explored and where it has been later. Ooh, and there's the city. And in the card box, you're going to find cards. This gives the instructions and the details of the specific quest monster in the moat. It describes the story and the situation, and then the different steps taken to complete the quest, and how many adventure points and what other rewards the hero gains. Now here's that map again. Some of it has been explored with different biomes already determined. So when moving through those areas to go from the city to the tower, a die is rolled to determine if there are any random monsters. Instructions for that are in Summa Cardis. For the blank spaces, if the hero wants to explore, then the game is more like the original, in which case the Wilderland cards are drawn, one in each new hex space that is explored, to fill out the rest of the map. If the hero decides not to take the main mission, if the hero decides to take a shortcut or explore new things, there are more adventures. What? More adventures? Yes, right there. Several adventures independent of the main mission of Monster in the Moat, and new adventures that are not in the main Lone Wilderlands game. Some of those new adventures can lead to new quests in new biomes. These quests will offer new opportunities to meet settlers and monsters and to gain rewards. Something new and not seen in Lone Wilderlands. I tell you more about that, but I gotta leave something a surprise. And there's also a new intriguing information table to add variety to the connections that can be made between the non-player characters, monsters, and settlers. Well, what about a playthrough example, you say? Or how to start the game? Okay, you talked me into playing a role-playing game. Really had to twist my arm hard on that one. So here we go. In this brief walkthrough, I'm going to assume everybody has already played Lone Wilderlands. So we're not going to go through the rules of combat and all that, just the ones that relate specifically to what we're doing at the moment. Ligo Morganson, good with a bow, with a sword, out to bring justice to the Lone Wilderlands. Yeah, he's awesome. And yes, I am an adult male with a day job, and I still play with Legos. What's your point? And this is his friend, Uthold the dwarf. In previous adventures, Ligo rescued him from a terrible fate. So now they're good buddies. And in their adventures, they're coming from the east to the city. So there are two blank spaces that they will walk through. Then they'll travel through explored areas. In the first blank space, we will draw a Wilderland card. It is an adventure. So we draw an adventure card. We've come across a group of city exiles. So for some reason they have left the city and are living here. So they're long out of favor with the leader and they're hiding. So we can roll to find how many there are. And then on this table, we'll roll, adding the Gaia foreshadowing, artisan culture, and denizen literacy, civilization traits, to see why they are there and what's going on. So that's going to create a whole separate adventure or quest or story thread, separate from whatever it is we're going to find when we get to the city regarding this moat and the monster. In the next space, we'll draw another Wilderland card because we don't know what's there. And we have found a farm. So we would roll a 20-sided dice, add the Gaia foreshadowing civilization trait to see if it's halfling fields, a dwarven stockade, or if it's an elvish orchard. And there's a list of some things that can happen, creating more potential for threads and stories, connections, maybe even a safe place in the future if Ligo and Uthold are injured or in need of help. And now they will travel through each of these hexes to get to the city. The first will be in a grassland, and assuming their civilization traits are all at 0 right now, then any roll that is 18 or above would mean a monster is there, and it may or may not attack them depending on what's going on. So we'll roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, 5 times. There's no wandering monsters in the city, at least I hope, or maybe that's the problem. None there, none there, none there, none there, none there, and none there. So I would subtract food from their gear list for each day of travel in each hex space. Then they would arrive at the city, and at an inn, they would come across this, and that would set them on their adventure of the monster in the moat. And that is Adara's Atlas. Happy gaming. But remember, never fall for one of the classic blunders, the most famous of which is never get involved in a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well known is this: never go in against the Thethelian when death is on the line.